Whether you're looking to catch your first fish or the most fish you've ever caught in 2024, if you don't follow these 5 tips, it will ruin your chances. As a kid, I was a little bit of a talker. Maybe that's why I like making these videos or whatever. So my dad would say, hey, Wes, you need to be quiet as we come up and start fishing this place. And as a kid, I kind of just thought, oh, Dad just wants me to be quiet because he's tired of me talking. And that was probably true to some extent. But as I've studied fish behavior, I've noticed that noises do spook fish. Whether that means you're walking up from the bank, talking loudly, splashing along in the shallows, or you're coming up in a boat with your motor at full throttle. If you've ever been underneath the water and you heard a boat motor scooting across the lake, then sometimes it sounds a lot closer than it actually is. And fish can tell that when you come up to an area and use your big motor, it spooks a lot of them because they can hear you coming from a long ways away. That's why it's always important to shut your big motor down or walk up as quietly as possible to a spot so you don't spook the fish. Silence is your friend when fishing. I went to college to study wildlife management, and a lot of that study involved studying animal behavior, whether that's how animals behave when people show up, how animals behave amongst each other, and how weather and their environment affects them. And this applies incredibly well in fishing in general because there are so many factors that influence a fish's behavior for the day, and it's so much more than just water temperature or whether if there's clouds in the sky or anything like that. As a matter of fact, it's bait fish, it's the weather, it's the time of year, it's water temperature, it's water clarity, it's water current, and so much more goes into how these fish are going to react to the bait presented to them. And to be a successful angler, you need to learn to adapt to all of these situations. No 2 days of fishing are exactly alike, and understanding bass behavior will make you a better angler because you'll be able to quickly identify and adjust to the changing conditions or even the slight variations in conditions from day to day. I'll never forget going sand bass fishing with my dad one year, and we were getting bite after bite after bite, but we couldn't seem to get them in. We'd fight them for a little bit and they'd get off. And honestly, it was really frustrating. Even as a kid, I was probably 10, 12 years old, and I can tell it bummed my dad out because we were there to catch dinner and have a great time. At the time, I thought fishing poles were just fishing poles, and I didn't realize the importance of having different powers and actions in a fishing pole. And had we had the correct power and action fishing pole, I believe we would have caught a lot more fish that day because they were simply just not getting hooked well enough, and therefore they could shake our lures really easy. So tip number 3 is using the right gear. I am a big gear junkie, and I don't believe all the hype that all the pros say, oh, you've got to have this, 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 and this, but there is some truth to that, meaning that the right tools for the job get the job done more efficiently and more effectively. One of the biggest mistakes that most anglers make, and they don't even realize it, is positioning. Whether it's how you're walking up on the bank, your boat positioning, your kayak positioning, whatever it is, and that's because they don't pay attention to how their shadow is being cast over the water. You see, moving shadows typically mean predators are above for a fish, so they're gonna swim off to a safe area and not bite. They're not gonna be interested in biting. That's why it's critically important to pay attention to how your shadow is being over the water. If you're trying to fish an area where your shadow keeps going over the top of the fish and scaring them, you're probably not gonna get any bites. Now, with that said, a constant shadow like an overhanging tree or something can be a great spot to fish because the fish can hide better in that non-moving shadow. It's a stationary shadow, that's the word I was looking for, and they feel more comfortable in that. But your shadow is probably gonna be moving and it's gonna spook them. My dad and grandpa taught me a lot about fishing growing up, and I understand that not everybody is as lucky as I was and has a grandpa or a dad that's interested in fishing. That said, I think it's absolutely essential that everybody has a mentor of some kind. For me, throughout the years, this has looked like reading articles, watching YouTube videos like this, but nothing has beat in-person mentor. Maybe that's learning from a guide that I hired or a buddy that's a few steps ahead of me. And that's because nothing beats time on the water. And when you add somebody who's just a little bit ahead of you to that time on the water, it helps you grow exponentially as an angler. We use mentors all the time in the rest of our lives. Why not in fishing? Several years ago, I was reintroduced to kayak fishing by a buddy, and I wonder why the heck I ever stopped. It's so much fun, and it's expanded my fishing opportunities just past the bank. So if you're a bank angler looking to get in deeper to kayak fishing, or if you're a boat angler and think, I want to get into those spots that I just can't get my boat into, then you've got to check out the video down below me. That will teach you everything you need to know to get started kayak fishing. I can't wait to see you there.